Good morning, afternoon, or evening, or possibly even middle of the night, listeners.
Indeed. This is a broadcast that is not at any particular time.
That's right, and also not at any particular time, at least in any type of human reckoning of time. This is Ryan.
And in some timelines, I'm known as Kyle.
Indeed. Whether this is one of those or not remains to be seen.
Indeed.
However, one thing I do know is that you're listening to
The Doctor's Watcher, which is the Antique Collectors podcast about every episode of Doctor Who.
Now that we've said all that, I kind of wonder, what antiques would mean to someone who travels time. Would it then just be oh, cool, I remember these? Or would it be like, oh, this one sucks because it's 100 years old. I could go get a brand new one.
I could go get a new one, yeah.
Yeah. It almost seems like that would just totally lose its cachet, like something being very old.
Yeah, definitely. On the other hand, if it's maybe if it's old in your personal timeline, I've had this for a long time, that takes on some value, but then it doesn't really become an antique unless you're super old.
Right. Or if you're a time traveler. You're like, oh yeah, that cutlass used to be mine back in the 1830s or whatever. Well, cool. How are you, Kyle?
I'm doing pretty well. I kind of thought that on the topic of things that might or might not be antiques, I would mention that I have recently received a lot of Star Trek collectibles. Oh,
yeah. I imagine there's some real gems in that collection.
Yeah, this collection is from our uncle, who is a big, longtime Trek fan and was basically downsizing as he moves in with our mother and has deemed me to be the worthy recipient of his Star Trek collection, basically.
Yeah, which is totally valid. You're kind of like the Trek historian of the family, I'd say.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's probably an accurate thing to say.
Or the Trek expert, the Trekspert.
So, yeah, there's a lot of the collection is Star Trek novels. Just in terms of volume and weight, that's the majority of the collection. So I think I'm probably going to be reading a lot of them in the coming months.
Nice.
There's also a lot of DVDs, including several duplicates. I think we have probably 6 or 7 copies of the 2009 Star Trek movie now.
Nice.
But then there's also a lot of cool and interesting stuff, a computer mouse that's TNG themed or shaped or whatever. Awesome. There's a frame that you can put around your computer monitor that's Elcar's decorations and shit.
Nice.
Of course, it doesn't fit on any of my monitors because it's from the CRT 4:3 aspect ratio era.
Right, of course.
There's this plastic TOS era phaser that shoots little round plastic discs at you.
Awesome.
That, when it doesn't misfire, it'll shoot them probably 4 or 5 feet.
Nice.
And
That sounds like something children could, really feel joy while choking on.
There's a very similar like water gun that's also like a TOS phaser.
Nice.
But then there's also like pretty cool stuff like a 3D chess set that I'm pretty sure our uncle like never actually like even opened or set up. Like I opened it and looked at it, and I think I may have like cut through the original tape sealing the package.
That's pretty cool.
But
I think there are like legit rules for that too, right?
yeah, it came with rules. I haven't read through them yet, but yeah, it has actual rules for it. I don't know whether I'll ever play or not. I'm not like a huge chess person generally, but like at the very least, it'll be a really cool display piece.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was never very good at chess either, but I like games that are chess-like, but chess just kind of, I don't know, sucks. Like memorizing strategies for it. That's not my idea of a fun game.
Yeah, same. But yeah, then there's also like, the program to a fan convention from like the early 80s or whatever. I think I gathered from their membership list that our uncle was like a member of the fan club, but did not attend the convention. But I guess like everyone got like the program and whatever anyway.
Nice.
Then there's also like some correspondence that he had with some people in a fan club where he was trying to source like a particular Leonard Nimoy song. I want to say it was called Highly Illogical. I'm not 100% sure about that, but our uncle was trying to like find a copy of the LP that Leonard Nimoy released that this song was on. And
cool.
like, yeah, somebody in the fan club had actually written back to him like, hey, I saw your advertisement in like the fan club zine or whatever. Like, I've got a spare copy of the record if you want me to send it to you. But I don't know if he ever replied and got the record or not, because we have not yet encountered it in the boxes that he and my mom sent that we've been going through.
Well, that's awesome, and 100% on point for our uncle, because even today he's a huge fan of like parody songs or humor songs. So like, I guess, what would that be? Like 45 years ago, back in the early 80s, he was already, even back then, a fan of comedy, parody type songs.
Yeah, totally.
There's producer stopping in to judge our production.
Yeah, I think she left around the start of this episode.
Yes, but I heard her offering a few comments earlier.
Meow. Hi, kitty. Did you go downstairs? And then I wasn't there because I didn't follow you because I'm recording a podcast right now.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
She's very sad about it. She had to do a lot of shouting about it.
Well, her points are always valid.
Okay, kitty. We should probably get back to our episode.
That's really cool about all that Star Trek loot, and it's kind of like almost a time capsule. Again, back to the time travel thing. These things have traveled forward from the past.
Yeah, it's kind of been interesting because, like, a lot of it is from like the 70s and 80s and stuff. So it's like, oh, this is, cool. Like I said earlier, kind of antique Star Trek things. But then there's also like, stuff from like the TNG era merch, and then like I mentioned, like DVDs and Blu-rays of the 2009 movie and its sequels mixed in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
mm-hmm.
I wonder, like, when do things become considered antiques? Like, what are, the toys we had during TNG, when TNG was first airing, back in the late 80s and early 90s,
Right.
those would be, 15, some of them years old by now? Like, is that antique or no?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they'd probably be considered collectible before they'd be considered antique, I suppose, but I don't really know like what the cutoff would be.
Yeah, like when does an item flip from this person is charging too much for an old piece of garbage to this person is charging a lot of money for a beautiful relic of the past?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I guess maybe it's just as soon as you can convince someone to pay that money.
Yeah, right. When the market has spoken, I suppose.
Uh-huh.
Well, cool. That's I'm glad that you're continuing on your journey of Star Trek knowledge and really filling in kind of the learning more about some of the parts that happened when we were children or before.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's kind of hard to absorb that real time unless you have some sort of time travel.
Mm-hmm. I will also mention briefly, since this is a Doctor Who podcast, that there were, I think, like 2 or 3 Doctor Who novels mixed in with all the Star Trek novels. And there's also like a Doctor Who card game that I looked through all the cards. It's basically like a set of like, good guy cards and items and a set of bad guy cards and items. And cool. You pretty much just play war with them, like the, classic card game War. Mm-hmm. But like each card has a few different stats, like, strength and wisdom or whatever. And you just declare like which stat you're attacking with. And then the defender has to defend with that same stat. But it's, just whatever card they draw from the top of their deck.
Nice. Kind of like War, but with extra steps.
Basically, yeah.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. One fun fact that I'm sure you're aware of, but I don't know if our listeners would be or not. There was a recent Doctor Who reference in one of the final Strange New Worlds episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're trapped inside of there was a race that was like, I think basically flying around, conquering starships, and they had a giant, huge starship vehicle, and they'd basically eat other starships and then kind of like use their materials to supplement their own ship. And like in that ship, not for very long, but very quickly, you can see the TARDIS is in there.
Yeah, it's like, because like kind of in all the machinery and greebling, basically.
Yeah. It's just, they sort of end up almost in like a stomach type area where there's all these half disassembled ships and stuff that are like stuck in there. And yeah, there's a TARDIS in there too. And then I think you see there's another shot before the end of the episode. I think it's like right toward the end when the Enterprise escapes or something like that. And you can see the place where the TARDIS used to be, like it's not there now. So like clearly, somehow it escaped also on its own, doing its own thing kind of. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think also I don't remember which season, but in one of the Disney Doctor Who seasons with Ncuti Gatwa, his companion like mentions something about Star Trek or about like the Enterprise or whatever, and he's like, oh yeah, we should like go visit them sometime.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. I agree. They should. That would be rad.
Cool. So what about you? Have you been up to anything interesting?
Not too much really. Kind of been laying low. One of my synthesizers got an update, so I've been playing with that. It's been pretty fun. I've been playing more Baldur's Gate 3. But I've kind of been playing some like low thought process type games as well. Kind of like during work when I'm not, when I'm working from home, but I'm not like actively working on something.
Right.
Or like if I'm on call, I have to sort of be available, but I may or may not be, actively engaged in work stuff at all times. So I got this game Megabonk. It's kind of recent, and it's pretty fun. It's sort of like a 3D version of like Vampire Survivors.
Oh, cool.
Or, yeah, basically like your character's constantly shooting or, attacking. You don't control that. And most of the time you don't even control where it aims. It just aims at like bad guys. And there's always bad guys running at you. Sometimes there's swarms of them, and sometimes there's like stronger ones surrounded by a bunch of weaker ones. And yeah, it's just stupid, but it's fun. Like there's some minimal strategy to it based around kind of a roguelike mechanic where, if you like when you level up, you can choose between usually 3 different things to upgrade.
Nice.
So, using that mechanic, you can kind of a little bit guide your build,
Right.
And there's like other things too, like if you open a chest or whatever, there's usually 2 to 3 choices of stuff inside that. And there's a few different ways to like upgrade your loot or your powers or whatever. So, yeah, you can kind of guide your build into doing whatever you want. But of course it's random. So, it's not always 100%. You can't just like plan it. You kind of just have to roll with what the options are.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's pretty fun. Like, there's not much skill involved. Other than like kind of running away from crowds of monsters, you have to like try to find a place that's maybe thinner of monsters if you're like surrounded. But it's certainly not like I don't know, Counter-Strike or some role-playing game where you're, deep in the story and learning about the lore and talking to people and whatever. No, this is just like, oh, I'm playing the astronaut character who kind of runs slow, but like jumps really high, like as if he's on the moon. And then the next run, you might be playing the, I don't know, there's like a skeleton that rides a skateboard who's very cool because he has sunglasses.
Nice.
And his main weapon that he starts with is like these bones that he throws out. Are they his bones? I don't know. He usually seems to have all of his bones, but somehow he's constantly throwing bones.
Nice.
Or, there's like a knight guy that has like a sword, or there's like an Amazon lady that has shields. And there's like a Robin Hood lady who shoots, bow and arrow. So it's very silly and pretty stupid, but kind of fun to pass the time. It's one of those things where you don't really have to do that much or expend much skill, but you still get the dopamine hits.
Right. And yeah, sometimes that's like exactly the kind of game you want. It's like, yeah, I don't want to have to like think about what I'm doing. I just want to like do it.
Yeah, like I don't always need to be deep involved in a game to get that dopamine hit, because that's really what you're going for in the end, right?
Yeah, totally.
And there's different flavors of dopamine hits. Like sometimes you get one because you are skilled at the game, and those ones are nice. I like those ones. But sometimes you just want that cheap hit.
Yeah, totally.
But I did come prepared with a joke before we get into the episode.
Nice.
And for this one, I'm going to try part of it in like a posh British accent. So the other day I was attending an elegant dinner party and I farted really loudly. And one of the one of the guests looked appalled and said, "How dare you fart in front of my wife?" I replied, "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was her turn."
Nice.
So on that note, the note of expelling hot air, let's get to the new episode of Doctor Who.
Right on. There is plenty of hot air to expel about the 38th episode of season 4, which is the second episode of The Evil of the Daleks.
Awesome.
I have not actually checked my notes, but I feel like there are several serials called The Blank of the Daleks. I know we had The Power of the Daleks earlier this season. So
yeah, it seems like a bit of a tradition. Mm-hmm. The X of the Daleks.
So do you want to remind us of our cliffhanger?
Yeah, so the Doctor and Jamie are still bopping around the 60s, hanging out in cool hippie coffee bars with loud coloring. And they don't know where the TARDIS is because it has been snatched by an antique dealer type dude called Waterfield?
Yeah, Waterfield.
And his lackey, Percy, and
Perry.
Perry, whoops, close. And then Waterfield's mansion is getting, currently, when we left off on the Cliff Dangler, was getting robbed by someone named Kennedy. And Kennedy had popped open the safe and found all the fat stacks of cash, pounds of pounds, perhaps, but hadn't noticed until it was way too late that a Dalek had materialized or shown up somehow right behind him.
Indeed. And yeah, this Dalek is asking Kennedy who he is. And instead of answering, Kennedy's like freaking out, basically. Obviously very scared of the Dalek, and for good reason. Like, this giant weird machine thing shows up that was not there before and starts yelling at you. So instead of answering its questions, he runs away and immediately gets film negativized.
Don't.
The DM like rips up his character sheet and was like, yeah, fuck that asshole. He's not playing with us anymore.
Right. You fucked up. You split the party. I guess he never really was with the party, but
yeah, not really.
If you're not going to play with the rest of the players, then you don't get to play.
So he is on the ground, dead, with, little smoke coming from the hole in his back from where he got film negativized. And the Dalek rolls up and parks itself between the two arm things and disappears or dematerializes or whatever.
Interesting.
Jamie and the Doctor show up at the antique shop, which is, sort of the public area of the mansion, and they quietly let themselves in through the front door. Jamie observes that it's only 9:30 and their appointment with Waterfield is at 10 p.m. And the doctor's like, yeah, that's so we can snoop around first.
Nice.
So they start snooping around. They roll investigation checks and they're looking at all the antiques in the shop. And they all seem like pretty brand new. They're not like old or weathered or anything, but also they all seem like genuine. The doctor doesn't think that they're like forgeries or reproductions or anything. Jamie points out that this would be impossible unless
Waterfield could have invented a time machine like the TARDIS, Doctor, and he's bringing all this stuff back from Victorian times.
It's not very likely, is it? The only way to find out is to ask Waterfield.
Yes, and for a person like Jamie, who comes from a different time, would he have called it Victorian times? I can't remember exactly like what era Jamie came from, and I don't technically know exactly what era Victorian times. Obviously Queen Victoria, but what are the years? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Victorian times are like late 1800s and Jamie's from like mid or late 1700s. So
to him it's kind of like part of the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. I guess he's picked up the far future term for the less far future from his perspective.
Yeah, maybe like while the TARDIS is traveling one day, the doctor's like, hey, you should go read like these history books about what happened after your time. Just like kind of fill yourself in.
Right. Here's a manual of spoilers for you.
We cut over to Waterfield, entering his study and discovering a dead Kennedy on the floor.
Nice.
Yeah, he's like, where's the rest of the band? How come there's only one of you?
Good thing this isn't Jello Biafra.
He rushes into the secret room where the Dalek has apparently rematerialized, even though like we saw it disappear, it's there again now. And Waterfield asks it what happened. And the Dalek says that Kennedy had discovered their communications system. Waterfield is like appalled that the Dalek would murder Kennedy over that. But the Dalek's just like, I don't give a shit what you think.
There is only one form of life that matters. Dalek life. Obey your orders, Waterfield.
Nice.
And yeah, it dematerializes, leaving Waterfield to figure out what the fuck to do with the corpse on his own.
Well, that's what you get for, hanging out and working with gangsters, basically. Like, sometimes you get corpses on your doorstep.
Yeah, like Kennedy was clearly some sort of lowlife.
Right? I mean, the Dalek could have just said he had found your fat stacks. And, Waterfield would have been like, oh, cool.
Right.
Thanks for shooting this guy.
Yeah, I'm glad you took care of that for me.
Right.
So as the doctor and Jamie continue their search of the antique shop, the DM asks them both for perception checks and then tells them that someone is approaching the door of the shop, like outside. So they both hide and they watch as Perry enters the shop and activates his stealth mode. Of course, if an enemy is like directly observing you when you activate stealth mode, it's ineffective against that enemy.
Right.
But you don't necessarily get alerted of that fact. So the doctor is like easily able to sneak up on Perry. He doesn't like attack him or anything, though. He just like starts talking to him. Perry asks what they're doing there, and the doctor's like, dude, like, you made the appointment. What are you doing here? And Perry's like, I fucking work here. And Jamie's like, then why are you in stealth mode? The doctor calls him Mr. Kenneth Perry. And he's like, dude, actually, my name is Keith. I'm not this Kenneth dude that you're looking for. But he offers to answer the doctor's questions if the doctor will answer his. Meanwhile, up in Waterfield's office, he is tearing a picture of the doctor in half, and he puts one half of the picture kind of like in the lid of his lockbox, as if like the lockbox closed on it and it got, torn from there or whatever.
Interesting.
And, we cut back down to the antique shop where the doctor's explaining to Perry that the police box is his property and he really wants it back. Perry tells him that, like, it's in the back of the shop. He says that the front door has an electronic lock on it, but they might be able to get the police box, like, over the yard gates in the back. I don't know, like, why he's helping the doctor, like, steal the TARDIS back, but he's giving him all this information. Doctor is just like,
You're going to show me where this yard of yours is.
I say, if it's a police box, shouldn't we get the police?
Like, what's this? What's he doing? Like, I guess the doctor rolled a really high, number on convincing this guy to help him or whatever.
yeah, I mean, he's got, like, stacks of charisma, so
True.
I think he had a pretty good bonus on that roll.
Up there with, like, Princess Donut as far as charisma.
Seriously. So the three of them, the doctor and Jamie and Perry, head into the study. I'm not really sure why, because Perry was theoretically supposed to show them, like, the yard. Maybe it's just, like, on the way to the yard. But they head into the study. They find the dead Kennedy. Perry's like, okay, I'm calling the fucking cops. But there's interference on the phone line, so he can't place a call. So he decides to leave to go, like, get the cops in person, basically. So he leaves. Jamie and the doctor roll new investigation checks, and the DM reveals that Kennedy's limbs are stiff, his hands are clenched, and he looks like he died in horrible agony. The DM also mentions that he has something in one of his hands, so Jamie pulls it out, and it's the other half of the torn picture of the doctor.
Oh. Now I can kind of see what they were doing with that. At first I thought he was kind of like having a little temper tantrum, like, stupid doctor, and then rips a picture of him. Take that, you jerk.
But no, he's apparently up to something. He's, like, planted this on Kennedy's body.
Interesting.
The doctor starts thinking about the layout of the mansion. It's been a while since the Docketecture ship has come up, but it's always at the back of his mind. He's thinking about architecture and blueprints and, structural layouts and whatnot. And he realizes that, like, based on the size of this study or office and the length of the hallway they walked down to get to the office, there must be a hidden room.
Nice. Thinking about all those angles and all those curves.
Uh-huh.
I guess it pays off.
So, he even obviously knows like where the hidden room would be. So they go and check out the bookcase. He and Jamie are easily able to find the secret keyhole in the bookcase, but they don't have the key. The doctor starts looking around for like a crowbar or something to pry the door open, basically. But as he starts to look, the door just slides open on its own. They don't really question it. They're just like, cool. And they head into the secret room and start investigating in there. And as they investigate, we see Waterfield like peek his head through the doorway at them. They're like too caught up in their investigation and don't notice him. But, even though they didn't see him in the office, he was apparently like hiding or whatever.
Nice. I guess if you roll a high investigation on one thing, that does not apply to the whole room.
Yeah, apparently so. The DM's like, so this investigation check, is it just like general on the room? And the doctor's like, no, like I'm specifically looking at the bookcase to figure out how to access the secret room behind it. The DM is like, okay, you figure that out. It's there.
Yep. Nice.
You find the keyhole. So as they investigate the secret room, the doctor is examining the control panel on one of the arms, and Jamie notices that the lockbox is on the ground between the two arms, and it has the other half of the torn doctor picture, like sticking out from the lid. So the doctor tries to warn Jamie not to open the box, but it's too late. And they both fall unconscious as a bunch of gas floods out of the box into the room as soon as Jamie opens it.
Well, I mean, they kind of had a hint about that one.
Uh-huh.
But, all right.
Waterfield.
Sometimes you get going on your investigation, you just don't want to stop.
Yeah, totally. Waterfield enters the room. He's holding a handkerchief over his nose and mouth. Apparently this is like good enough to not succumb to the gas. And he closes the lockbox, which, like ends the gas coming out. And then he like makes sure that the two unconscious bodies are kind of positioned between these two big arm things. And then he stands between the two of them himself. And then we cut down to Perry arriving back at the antique shop with a couple of cops. He shows them the dead Kennedy, but observes that the other two gentlemen who were here seem to have disappeared.
Very mysterious.
Hello, Doctor's Watcher listeners. We are your servants. We do not need guns, but we do need your 5-star ratings and reviews. No more than 5 stars to be seen together at any one time. We are ready to teach these human beings the law of the Doctor's Watcher. Back to the show.
We cut to an exterior shot. It's now daytime, no longer 10 o'clock at night or whatever. There's blue skies, a few clouds. There are chirping birds. And we see a big mansion on like a big grassy lawn with trees in the background. And the camera of the animation like swoops around this 3D rendering of the mansion and like zooms in, basically like flies through an open door on the side of the mansion's 3D model into like a sitting room, basically, where we see the doctor sitting, and he's like bent over and holding his head and groaning. A maid enters the room. She has this tray and pours a drink for the doctor. Jamie is like still asleep. He's in the room also, but he's passed out. The maid is teasing the doctor about like how hard they must have partied last night, since the doctor's clearly like super hungover now and like doesn't remember what happened or anything.
Nice.
The drink that she gave him apparently works very quickly and well to dispel his hangover, which is nice. He learns that her name is Molly Dawson, and he assumes that her boss is Mr. Waterfield, but she corrects him. Her boss is actually Mr. Maxtable.
Okay.
He asks her like where they are and what the date is, and just then, before she can answer, this new dude who's got like big gray and white puffy beard and like a gray mustache and kind of like water buffalo hair. He enters the room and he dismisses Molly for now, and it turns out that he is Mr. Maxtable, who is the owner of this house, and he tells the doctor that he'll answer all of his questions. They are in Maxtable's house. It's a little ways outside of Cambridge, so we're not in London anymore, apparently, and that it is June 2nd, 1866.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
So yeah, the doctor's like, what the fuck? First you steal my shit, and then you take us back in time, killing a dude along the way. But Maxtable's like, we didn't kill that dude.
We are all of us the victims of a higher power. A power more evil and more terrible than the human brain can imagine.
Presumably the Daleks.
Presumably, yeah. And technically, Waterfield and Maxtable didn't kill Kennedy, the Daleks did, so...
Right, true. And also, kind of funny how the writers are like, this bad guy is more fucked up than any human could imagine, except for me. That is how good of a writer I am.
David Whitaker's like, hell yeah, no one will ever see this coming.
Right. No one could have thought of this. Their minds are just too dumb.
So Waterfield shows up. He's apparently here in 1866 also, and he tells the doctor that, like, this so far unnamed evil and terrible power took his daughter. So he begs the doctor to do whatever they ask. The doctor, like, really wants to know who they're talking about, what this power is, but Maxtable will only say that the doctor won't be kept in suspense for very much longer. We cut to Waterfield's daughter, Victoria, not the Queen, a different person also named Victoria.
Okay.
And she's basically in like a cinder block prison cell, essentially. She's looking like through bars out the window. A Dalek shows up at like the cell door and orders her to eat her food and not to feed it to the birds out the window, I guess. It orders her to go stand between these two like posts that start humming and emitting some light. So she does. She stands between them and like grimaces and groans in pain as they hum and the lights flash. And then a bunch of numbers appear on the wall. It's like projected from the posts, I guess, not really clear. Since the walls were just like cinder block. But the Dalek reads the numbers and tells her that she's lost 17 ounces of weight. So if she doesn't eat her food, she'll be force fed, basically.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they're getting into like 7 shit.
Yeah, right. I was just trying to figure out how much 17 ounces is. Like, that's only like 16 ounces to a pound.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds right.
So that's not even that much, really.
Yeah. Yeah, the Dalek is like really focused on like the exact specific level of her weight, which, yeah, it kind of seems like shitty and body shaming.
Yeah, right. And like, doesn't this ultra high tech science Dalek understand that people's weights like fluctuate throughout the day even?
Yeah, like 17
like,
ounces.
Has she crapped yet?
Yeah, like you can hardly even count that as a loss.
Right. Is this like post-lunch, pre-lunch?
Right.
You know, has she crapped? Has she peed? Is she hydrated or not? All these things could change.
Yeah, totally. We cut back to the mansion where Waterfield and Maxtable take the Doctor to Maxtable's laboratory. Doctor's like, cool. I love labs. This is a very classic lab with like countertops and tables and a bunch of differently shaped beakers and flagons and flasks that have like different colors of liquid in them. Some of them are bubbling. So Doctor's just like, yeah, cool. I love laboratories, but like, what the fuck are we even doing here? So Maxtable starts explaining about how he's always been interested in time travel and he's a rich asshole. And Waterfield is good at like technical shit. So between the two of them, they built all the shit in this lab, I guess, to try to do time travel or whatever.
Huh.
He goes into his theory or his idea or whatever, which is that since mirrors reflect images, they can try to use electromagnetism to project the mirror image, like, off of the mirror into the room or something. I'm not really sure what that has to do with time travel, or even really what they were trying to describe at all, but cool.
Interesting. Yeah, cool.
So they got this cool, like, Gothic style cabinet and put 144 separate mirrors inside of it, each one made of polished metal and each subject to a positive electric charge in an attempt, like I said, to repel the image in the mirror out into the room or whatever. But this didn't work. So they tried negative electric charges. That also didn't work. So they tried static. And the Doctor references his codex and he's like, shit, I remember from the very first Dalek serial we ever did that Daleks used static electricity. So like even just the sheer mention of static, he's like, don't have a good feeling about this, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And they go on to explain.
In the middle of our final test with static, creatures burst out of the cabinet, invaded the house, took away my daughter.
Oh, my dear fellow. My dear, dear fellow. But we shall win through now that the doctor is here.
These creatures gave them photos of the doctor and Jamie, basically, saying that they had to go kidnap them or Waterfield's daughter would die. The doctor's like, dude, you still haven't told me, like, what the fuck these creatures actually are. And just then, a Dalek bursts out of the cabinet.
Nice. That's a cool plan. Very devious.
Uh-huh.
I love how, like, plotting the Daleks are.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, it took me a minute to, like, really think through kind of what's happening and what the implications are, but I think what they're saying is that, like, Waterfield and Maxtable, this is actually their home time period. It's like the 1860s is when they're from, and the Daleks, like, basically forced them to time travel to the 1960s to kidnap the doctor and bring him back to the 1860s.
Right. Like they jumped on an opportunity to kind of invade that time or whatever, and then immediately started taking people hostage and like forcing them to do things. Very, very Dalek.
So yeah, this Dalek bursts out of the cabinet and it's like, fuck yeah, the plan worked.
We shall triumph. You will obey. You will obey.
Obey.
Awesome.
It tells the doctor that they have his time ship and they will destroy it if he doesn't help them with an experiment.
Interesting.
Yeah, this experiment apparently is that they are going to test Jamie, but they tell the doctor, like, not to reveal anything about it to Jamie. He's, of course, like, still passed out in the sitting room, I guess. So the Dalek basically just, delivers this brief message to the doctor and then heads back through the mirror portal or whatever. And the doctor is like, what the fuck is this test? And Maxtable thinks he might have an idea. It's like purely speculation, but the Daleks have told him that they've always been defeated by humans. So he wonders if maybe there is some factor possessed by humans and not by Daleks, and they're trying to figure out, like, what this factor is so they can transplant it into the Dalek species.
That's pretty reasonable.
Uh-huh. Waterfield's like,
But if they do that, allied with their own alien intelligence, they'll be invincible.
and Maxtable's just like, dude, chill, like, I'm just speculating. And also, they still have your daughter, so, like, what the fuck can we do about it anyway?
Right. And also, what if that thing, whatever it is they're missing that humans have, makes them not do Dalek shit anymore?
Right, yeah.
Maybe the reason why humans aren't generally, like, marauding through time, kidnapping people after jumping out of cupboards and whatnot, is because they have that thing that Daleks are missing.
Right, yeah, the Daleks are like, if this is actually their plan, like, it seems pretty risky. I don't know that it's going to go the way they think it's going to go, or the way they want it to go.
Right.
Back in the sitting room, Jamie is finally starting to wake up. Molly the maid is there, and she pours him a glass of the hangover cure. And then this other lady shows up and sends Molly off to make some tea. this other lady is apparently Maxtable's daughter, Ruth. So she and Jamie talk for a minute, then she leaves. But then there's like some scoundrel or thief or whatever who comes in through the sitting room's exterior door and like knocks Jamie out unconscious. But then when he hears Molly the maid like knocking at the door, at the like interior sitting room door, he leaves, runs back outside. So Molly lets herself into the room and she's like, well, guess he passed out again.
Poor young gentleman. They shouldn't have given you so much to drink.
But, you know, as she's looking at poor young passed out Jamie, this like rapscallion or whatever shows up again and grabs her from behind, clapping his hand over her mouth. We cut to Waterfield, who's in the hallway with the doctor outside of the sitting room. He's trying to convince the doctor not to warn Jamie about the Daleks and whatever this test is, since like the Daleks were pretty clear that they shouldn't mention it to Jamie. But the doctor doesn't care. He's not listening. He heads into the sitting room to warn Jamie and is like, damn, he's still passed out. I guess your gas was like really potent. But when he moves the blanket, it's not Jamie, it's Molly, and Jamie is missing. Waterfield's like, well, chat, the Daleks really want to test Jamie. If we don't find Jamie, we're fucked. And the doctor's just like, yup.
Everything you say, Waterfield, is true. If we cannot find Jamie, the Daleks will take pleasure in killing everyone in sight. And their greatest pleasure will be in killing me.
Indeed. They sure do hate the doctor.
Uh-huh. So they should have just ended the episode there, but they didn't. They included one more scene where two Daleks talk about how they have ordered for the test to begin, and any delay will result in death, but there won't be a delay. And then the music starts, and the words say Doctor Who Patrick Troughton.
Nice. Well, I want to take a quick second to inform the listeners that even though I joked about potent gas before the episode, I did not know that there would be references to potent gas in the episode.
Indeed. And yeah, this gas apparently was pretty potent. Waterfield's just like, yeah, like Maxtable invented that gas.
Right. Really probably what it was Maxtable like farted in the box and then like hurried and closed the lid.
Uh-huh.
But, well, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't expect to end up in the 1800s by the end of the episode.
Yeah, in the previous episode when you were talking about it being in the same time period as like the previous serial, I had to not mention that not for long.
Right. Not for long. But yeah, that's cool. My current theory is that this rapscallion who's snapped up Jamie is probably either already a good guy or will turn into a good guy. And I bet, somehow they'll maybe be working together they'll end up working together with Jamie and the doctor.
That could be fun, yeah.
But yeah, well, that's cool. A lot of kind of avenues where this one could go down. As always, I love how evil the Daleks are and just how, like, good at being evil that they are.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think if Maxtable is correct about what their plan is, it's like a little bit of a departure from what I would expect from the Daleks, because they seem to be like all about racial purity. But maybe this is like the one time when they're like, maybe we should like actually think about branching out from that and like seeing if racial purity is actually a good idea or not.
Yeah. Like, if they install an upgrade on the entire race of Daleks, it's still racially pure, right?
Yeah.
Of course. But yeah, that's a good point. They're not usually they're like, yeah, we're already perfect. We are the perfect species.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're looking to, find something they're missing, they must. Well, then again, as we know, racists don't usually use much logic.
That's true. So yeah,
or any logic.
Even now that they have realized that they keep losing, they probably still think they're perfect anyway.
Right.
And even though there might be something they're missing that they want to add, like they're still perfect anyway, and this will just make them more perfect, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you can justify a lot of things when you've sort of taken the jump into doing unjustifiable shit.
Uh-huh. Yeah, once you've started using emotion to justify things instead of reason, then yeah, you can basically justify anything.
Right. Emotions are all over the place. But yeah, as a quick aside, listeners, in our timeline, we just passed the Friday when the U.S. government was supposed to release the Epstein files, which they kind of did, but like most of them were blacked out, so it's basically like they did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. We don't really need those. All you have to do is, open your computer or your phone and your browser and load up www.whitehouse.gov, and then you can see the list of people that are on the Epstein files.
Uh-huh. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, it just made me think of that, evil people and beings justifying evil shit.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes they don't even bother trying to justify their evil shit. Or, the justification is no more than I want to do evil shit.
Yeah, right. And those are the best kind, because at least they're pretty much upfront about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a lot of times, the ones that are pretending to be Christian or pretending to be, helpful or good, they've got to do all sorts of gymnastics to
right,
justify their shit. And it's embarrassing for everyone.
Uh-huh. Yeah. When someone is like, well, I have power and I would like to not lose it, and I would like to have even more power, so I'm doing evil shit. I'm just like, cool. Like, say it like it is. Now we know who you are.
Yeah. Like if I had to choose, I'd choose that guy. Like I wanted to do it because I'm evil and I like doing evil things.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, on that note, listeners, you're welcome for us being good and doing good things. Is there anything else we should discuss about this episode?
No, I don't think I had anything. Yeah, just a reminder to our listeners that we could use this podcast platform for evil, but we choose not to.
Right. For now, at least. Well,
if you'd
anyway,
like us to continue using it for good, then recommend it to all of your friends.
Right. Otherwise, you will rue the day that we decide to convert the podcast to an evil podcast. Unless you're evil, and then, that'll probably make you really happy. Well, thanks, Kyle, for describing this episode to me in a mostly non-evil manner.
Indeed, and thanks for not calling the cops on the bits that I did describe in an evil manner.
Well, I ain't no snitch.
Yeah, and
snitches get stitches.
I haven't stolen a police box specifically, so...
Right. So they don't know. What they don't know is not going to hurt them.
Right.
Cool. Well, listeners, please, in the interim, between now and 2 weeks, when you finally get your next either hit of evil or reassuring feeling of good, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share all of the information you can about the Doctor's Watcher. Because otherwise, when we do convert to an evil platform, it won't be very, effective.
Indeed. As soon as we make that switch, it needs to have the biggest impact possible right out of the gate.
Right, yeah. Like, we want to kind of start with a cult army, basically.
Right.
Because otherwise, what are you even doing? So, all right, cool. Well, yeah, I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks, and when you find out whether or not we've decided to go full evil.
Indeed. Come back in those 2 weeks and see who is more evil, us or the Daleks.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Doctor, you told me outside it's a genuine Victorian antiques. Well, all the stuff in here's brand new.
You've noticed that?
Of course I did. The man's a rogue.
Yes, so it seems. Except
what?
Except that all these things are not reproductions. They're all genuine.
Now, that's ridiculous.
Hey, look at this. To one deed box, 4 guineas. This is a bill from William Deering and Son, 1866.
And it's a forgery.
Yes, but if you were going to make a forgery, wouldn't you try to dirty it up a bit? Yellow the edges, crinkle it up. This is brand new.
I've got an idea.
What?
All the stuff in here is genuine.
Yes.
But brand new.
Well done.
Well, that is impossible unless Waterfield could have invented a time machine like the TARDIS, Doctor, and he's bringing all this stuff back from Victorian times.
It's not very likely, is it? The only way to find out is to ask Waterfield. Come on.